Now conditionals.python. There you go. Okay, so we have a conditionals file over here. So let's just toggle this off, close that, and let's have some conditionals. So if, for instance, like have a scenario here, suppose this is you, and you're not 0, but suppose you want to go outside, and you can only go outside if it's not raining, right? So suppose if you have a condition, we always do conditions all the time. So if it's raining, you don't go outside, right? You don't want to go outside. And if it's not raining, you go outside. Or generally speaking, this is a simple condition to do. Like, so we have conditions all around in our daily world. Like, we create conditions every single time. We have something like, for instance, if we'd say if it's generally so simple. So if it's if it's 8 a.m., then what we do is we go to school, right? And then if it's not, so like if it's let's say if it's 1 p.m., we go to home. So this is a general condition. These are some of the conditions that might appear in code, and this is always happening. Like in more technical view, in perspective, we could see conditions happening every single time. Now suppose you're in a game and you win a certain amount of points, and what you do is that when you win a certain amount of points, you get a ranking. Like for instance in PUBG, like you are a really good player and you get a rank, you get badges, and then you get, when you achieve or you reach some kind of level, they promote you with another badge or something. So there are conditions to it. So if you reach that specific level, you are promoted, right? So if you do not reach it, you are not promoted. So that if not could be changed to else, okay? That could be changed to else. So that's what basically we're gonna do here. Now we're gonna have is number 1 or number 2. And we're basically gonna understand this concept by a program which is called the GPA calculator. Not the GPA calculator, but it's gonna be called your grade calculator. It's a small program that you write your grade, and it's gonna tell you whether you got an A, B, C, D, E, or F. Okay, so we're gonna specify everything out, and we're gonna use conditionals for this. Now let the fun begin. So first we have is a scan or whatever we have. So we're gonna understand the syntax behind all of this, and you would definitely love and enjoy this. So let's have the syntax behind how we're gonna do this. Suppose we have something so general that we want to have an input to it. So we say input, and we say enter. We say enter your grade, or enter your marks. For instance, we could create one for grade 2, but let's have a marks one. So we enter your marks, and basically it's gonna be inside some kind of variable. And what we're gonna store this as, we could say this as input, right? So we'd say input 1 equal to. And I don't want exclamation, and I just have something, let's say something very easy. Just like colon and then a space. All right, so this is enter your marks. Now you enter your marks in some kind of integer format, right? But the thing is, the problem here is that input by default is a string, and we already discussed this before. You could scroll back to see where we discussed when we use the type function to view that whether it's which kind of type is it, and this is unfortunately a string class, and we do not have it as an int by default. We have to convert it explicit casting. Yeah, that's the word. So now what we want to do is that we want to change it up. So we have this enter your marks, and we want to do some kind of criteria to this. So it inputs a marks, and what it does is that we change that to something like, say, we change it to explicit casting. So we say marks is equal to input 1, and we want to change this to an int. We could just say int, and we could just put the marks inside of that. There you go. Now we could say something, so the marks are over here, and now we put a conditional. Okay, so we're putting a conditional logic here. We're using if-else statements. So if else, so we'd say marks, all right, are greater than 90. So that's my condition. If the marks are greater than 90, and we put a colon right here, that's the syntax to it. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna say print A, all right? So we could say that, and we could say else if. Now this is the syntax for else if. So else if. Now this means that if this part doesn't work, if they are not greater than 90, then probably they're going to be greater than 80, right? So they'll have a landmark of 80. So the else if marks are greater than 80, then what's going to happen? We're going to say print, let's say B. So B grade. And now if I have another condition like elif, and if I say marks are greater than 70, so I could say print C grade. But the thing is, let's have this a little spaced out. Over here we have elif, and we have print, and we have another way, like say, sorry, not elif, but elif. We could say marks, and we could have greater than 60, and then we could have print, and we have D grade. Okay, we're going further, and that's how the conditionals are going to work. So elif will say marks greater than 50. Let's say it's an E, no, but actually we want it less. So even if it's less than 60, so we just say, we could just do elif, right? We could do that. But in this case, we want an else condition. Now, what is this else? This is gonna bring this something like this. So basically, this is the first condition to test. It's gonna test this condition. If this is not true, it goes here. And then if this is not true, it goes here. So if this is not true, it goes here. If this is not true, the last resort is this, all right? So like if one of this works, all of this is ignored, right? Like for instance, if this part is working, right? All of this is gonna be ignored. That's exactly what's gonna happen. It is basically greater, but it's just gonna terminal out. That's it. It's just gonna print, and all of this is gonna be finished. Or if we don't have this elif, these are gonna also work. So I would recommend you to first write like this, and over here we'll just test over here if marks are less than 60. So we just put this 60 less right there, and put a colon, and we put a tab. So I hit the tab, you could get the 4 spaces by default. And over here I'm gonna write print, would say F grade. There you go, save it. Now what I would do is I would run this code. So let's say Control Alt and N. Now there is more problem here, and line 12. Go back here, line 12, and you have a problem here, else, okay? And then you have some marks. So invalid syntax over here, and line 12, there's so there is a syntax problem over here, else marks. So we don't have to tell the condition here. So we just have to print that. And that is perfect. So now let me run this code, Control Alt and N. And I will see, enter your marks. I would maximize this. If I have 100 marks, I get an A grade. I'll run this code again. Now how I did that is I put the up arrow key and I got it again. So let me say 200. I got, whoa, that's not real. So let me do that again. I do something as 45. Now I'm supposed to get an F. So I got an F. Now let me see if I get 85. And what am I gonna get? So according to my program, what I'm gonna get here is that I'm gonna get a B, because it's like that. So PowerShell is not working, no problem. The terminal process, PowerShell terminated with exit status, okay. Let's run this code again. So run this code again. All right, so if I enter my marks as 85, now according to my program here, it would go over here, and it's gonna check if it's greater. It's not greater, this is not gonna work. So this is out. Over here it says if it's greater than 80, and yes it is, it's 85, so this is gonna work. Now elifs are not gonna work, okay? They're ignored, so they're not gonna run. If I have if conditions, you're gonna see C grade, D grade as well, and that is stupid, okay? So we don't want that. So we have this, and now you have a B grade. Now for instance, I wanted to explain why I didn't include just ifs. Now you would say if, but you would see that the logic is something else. Over here I would say if, and I would put if over here as well as over here. So let's suppose I say if marks are less than 60. Now this is the really bad way to use. I would say the amateur way, and you're gonna get the program is gonna run definitely. Like for instance, if I have a grade of 70, now what I would see is that if it's greater than 70, I'm gonna get a C grade. But if I got 70, definitely I'm getting a D grade. So let's see, the first thing I have is a D grade. Now you see that there's nothing else behind it. But if I have something over here that is above, like for instance, if I have an A grade, which is 95, so I say 95 are my score. Now what I wanted to show here is that A grade was printed, and then it said, oh right, oh it's greater than 82, so B grade was printed. And then it said, oh yeah, this is true too, so C grade is printed. And then also D grade is printed. So they weren't less, so this wasn't printed. So this is not a proper way to do it. Our logic is not correct here because we don't want here. So I'll just Control Z all of this, and I would go back to my original code, which was like this. Okay, so over here, what I created a mistake on purpose is that marks were less than 60. Now I don't have to specify the condition here. This is known as the conditional part. This is the keyword and this is the condition. And I don't have to specify it because it's an else statement. So I just cross this out, I will save this code, and when I would Control Alt and end this code, you see that instead of having now, let me, before executing this code, let me just Control Z this to like terminate, and let me just clear the screen. And let me run this code now. So over here, now enter your marks. So I would say something like 95. Now I'm not gonna get every grade now. I'm just gonna get one single grade because of my elif condition. So I would have 95, and there you go, an A grade. Awesome. Hope you understood the concepts of conditionals by this simple example. I could encourage you to create this by yourself, and what we're gonna do now is something very interesting. So stick around, stay tuned. So we'll do functions right after this video. And we're probably we're going really good. Okay, so